Why don't we all think about aging as a blank canvas? You've got the brushes, you've got the paints, you've got the colors, you're the artist. What's your painting gonna be? I bet you're thinking to yourself, why would a fashion designer and tele-retail personality be doing a slightly scientific show? Because the good news is you can reverse aging in your brain and you don't have to know about science to do it. It is all in your attitude. Some of us are called superagers who actually reproduce fresh brain cells at twice the rate of a normal aging brain. They have also done research, Yale University, over a 12-year period that showed if you had a great attitude about aging, you knew what you wanted to do at that point of your life, and you were willing to put into the work, you had good attitude, guess what? 50% of those people reversed aging in their brains and went to either a younger brain or a younger physicality or both. I'm going to just highlight Dick Van Dyke, who just turned 100 in December 2025. They asked him what he credited his incredible energy and verve for life at 100, which is quite an age to accomplish. It wasn't diet, it wasn't medicine, it wasn't great doctors surrounding him. It was positive outlook and never getting angry. And that brings me to the fact that the thing I love about this podcast today about super aging is you can call the shots. You are in charge, where you may have been taught earlier in life that you were helpless when it came to aging. It was just going to wash over you like a giant wave. And at some point you were going to drown in it. Not so. Not true. You can actually so encapsulate your premium self, your best self, and where you want to be in the moment and what kind of quality of life you want to have. Now, I'm just going to bring up a point. It's not negative. I was diagnosed with cancer 8 years ago at the age of 72, and I immediately realized I was going to get totally out of control if I did not take my brain and put it into a positive forward motion. So many of the points I'm going to go over right now, there's 5 major points you would use for being diagnosed, but you would also use just for starting to go into a mode of thinking about aging and what you want to do about it. Because honestly, longevity is on everybody's list. Everything is about longevity and how to achieve it. What's your plan, Stan? What do you want to do with that time? Do you want to be productive? Do you want to be happy? Do you want to help others? Nobody seems to have the plan. They just don't want to die. And that is not good enough. So I believe that when I had my cancer diagnosis, breast cancer, it was very much like Dick Van Dyke's philosophy of growing old in the most positive way and pleasurable way possible. So number one, stay positive. I never allowed myself to have one negative thought about outcome of cancer. It was going to be positive. It was going to just be an experience going through treatment, an isolated experience. I was going to learn from it and move on. Feel that way about aging. Number two, do not allow anger into your life at all. When I was going through treatment, chemotherapy and radiation, I never allowed myself to be angry, which is what Dick Van Dyke says. When I did get annoyed or angry, I felt like somebody was just pouring poison, toxins into my system. I could feel destructive it was, how negative it was. So control that. Shut those valves. Don't let it. Number three, reduce stress. I made a point out of laughing every day during treatment, smiling all the time, and trying to lighten up people around me and enjoy your life. Whether you are aging or you're under some kind of treatment or you've just been diagnosed with something manageable, which I considered for myself was manageable, be grateful. You're still here. You can still enjoy almost every moment, and that is your choice. And lastly, be an active participant in your own life, whether it's recovery or it's aging. How you take it, how you see it, and how you deal with it is how you will live it. Yeah. You know, one of the things that I really feel is our society does not respect their elders at all. Everything is about youth and beauty. And we are not taught that aging is something you can deal with, is something you can make better, is something that you can craft and mold and control. But why don't we all think about aging as a blank canvas? You've got the brushes, you've got the paints, you've got the colors, you're the artist. What's your painting gonna be? Now, if it is, and they say it is clinically true, that you can actually reverse aging, then you know that you've got goals in mind. And I do want to say, what was my attitude towards aging? Well, I think my thoughts of aging started a lot younger than most people. I was born in 1945, but I was born to a mother who was 45, and my father was well over 50. They were much older parents than every other kid around me, and they aged with health problems. They aged with not a lot of goals, not a lot of future plans, and I thought, I don't like this. So when I started to formulate my attitude towards aging, which I actually did, believe it or not, in my 20s onward, I knew I could not compare 60, 70, 80 to being 30 or 20, which a lot of us do, because those are the images we constantly see in front of us and judge ourselves by. So I knew I had to change and adapt. I also knew I had to remain productive, but I couldn't go on, especially after cancer treatment, with keeping the kind of airplane and hourly schedule I had on TV, QVC, and HSN. So I knew I was going to have to become productive and really change what that definition was later in life. That's been a real challenge, but I do love social media, which is where I am now as an influencer. And honestly, I knew, but I didn't totally anticipate how much you must discipline yourself as you age. And I think one of my biggest disciplines has not only been my mental attitude towards aging and redefining myself, both visually and physically, but also I realized at 80, a little delayed, but okay, that I really had to super discipline my diet and start eating for me and the advantages it could give my body, not just my palate. And I knew I had to become very vigilant for my health. Now, I'm not somebody that takes any drugs. I believe in using my own guidance, the correct diet, the correct amount of fluids during the day to maximize my health. But I'm very much aware that that is not something where I want to concede my power to the medical industry, and I want to be able to support as much of myself as I can by my own choices, which have to be a lot more positive than they were previously. And that is simply rejecting a great aging process and protecting your longevity. Because I say it again, the good news is small habits can slow the aging process big time, and it is under your control. So I'm just going to read off a few. One of them is going to sleep before 11 p.m. Sleep for me is absolutely essential. I have a broken sleep pattern, so I try to go to sleep earlier because I know I'm going to be up a couple of hours during the night. But so important for me. Activity, walk 20 minutes a day. Yeah, even if it's around the house. I have a million plants to water. I have like 30 giant plants in my house. That'll take up 30 minutes of your time walking around. Avoid processed foods. I avoid processed foods like the plague. I try to go for very, very direct foods, foods where there's been no chemicals pumped into them, there's no additives, They are direct from nature to you and how you prepare them. And I don't prepare anything in seed oils. Everything is something direct like olive oil that's actually part of the Mediterranean diet and good for you. I only eat one meal a day, and I eat it way before I think about going to bed, hours before. That's also good for your digestion. I eat a lot of berries. I don't eat enough dark leafy greens. I'm working on it. I fast 12 to 14 hours a day overnight. And I have found for an older body with a slower metabolism, that is absolutely optimum. And I'll tell you why. My belief is, and my theory is, one of the real danger points of aging is somehow convincing yourself that food is a reward and what the hell. You've got the right, why not eat it? But I've learned a great lesson from following certain athletes where they cannot do and perform at the level they need to unless their bodies are light. Don't put on weight as you age, and you will have a tremendous advantage to becoming a super-ager. And I really am very, very vigilant that as I age, I need less calories, and so I consume less calories. And if I'm really hungry that day, I'll eat something green like cucumber or celery that's filling but very non-caloric. And I've learned to love that. I don't even put salad dressing on it anymore. Eat a lot of protein in the morning. I'm not good at that. I eat my protein towards midday, and I never eat a heavy meal unless I'm going out to some awards dinner or something. I never eat a heavy meal after 2 o'clock, ever. I feel an older body needs to digest it. And here's another trick, and this is just a personal trick, but it really works. I eat a lot of my meals standing up. Much better for digestion, burns calories as you eat, and really works out well for me. And I only drink mineral rich waters. I don't drink tap water, even when it's filtered. And lastly, and I mentioned it before, I laugh every day. I smile every day. I find something to enjoy, and I find a lot to be grateful for. You know what? So important. And you wouldn't think, I've been to anti-aging clinics, and there are longevity clinics, especially in New York, which is, believe it or not, the richest city on earth. I think every 14th person is a millionaire. Mind-boggling. There are longevity clinics where they do zillions of blood tests on you, and what they do is anticipate disease, and they view aging as disease before it overcomes you. And so it's adding this and adding that, and this supplement and that supplement, and this IV and that IV. And yes, it can also help your brain and the neurons that die as you get older, which takes away memory. And yes, going to one of these longevity clinics can really help you become a super-ager. But hey, you have to be a billionaire. And that is truly the discouraging side of it. Our society and our insurance companies and the way our medical system is set up, it does not want to support your old age. It only wants to support your old age with FDA-approved drugs that may have a lot of side effects for you that are not great or pleasurable. If you are going to become active in a longevity clinic, you better have a lot of money for backup, because nothing is going to be provided by the insurance companies, which is why it is so important the younger you are. And for anybody in your 40s watching this podcast, start now. Start as soon as you can. I was always very aware of aging because actually the peak of my career started in fashion and television at the age of 60. And so I had to appear vital. I had to appear energetic. I was on and off international flights. I just put my body through a lot that most 60-year-olds would not. And I knew I could only do it through the attitude that it was worth it and I was enjoying myself and I loved my career, which I did. And I love my career now. I took the essence of it, being in front of a camera, switched it over to social media and influencing. And very, very important to feel like you're doing something. For me, it's about putting a much more positive light on aging, a much more positive attitude for my generation and the generation right below. I'm a baby boomer. And you know something? It is fantastic to know that you have the personal power to honestly mold your brain into a bigger capacity for regenerating and adapting than we could ever have imagined. You don't need a fortune for it, don't need to be a billionaire, don't need to live in a major money hub like New York or a medical hub like New York. You can do it on your own through your own self-discipline. So what is a superager? It's anybody who's 80 or above. That's me, I'm 80. With memory performance that mimics people who are decades younger. My memory is pretty good, particularly your episodic memory, remembering events and experiences. But also, I have to say that along with that, building new neurons in your brains, all the things that we as scientists cannot understand, but we know are important. Challenge yourself. Create an active brain for yourself. Get into new things. If you are just retiring somewhere in your city, you can let your brain go fallow for a couple of months. So you're sort of cleansing yourself. And then you've got to start challenging yourself again. And for me, that was learning something new. I became so socially and mentally engaged in social media. I'd always been on the outside of social media. I love being on Instagram and TikTok. Love it too much. But now I'm part of it. And here were the things that I knew I had to do for myself to stay on top of my game and to be within that definition of superager. I had to stay curious, absolutely. Social, nothing more social than social media. Mentally engaged, whole new career at 79 years old. Call me crazy, but purpose driven. Oh yeah, all my life. I know that is my key to happiness and fulfillment. Physically active. Yep. I've got aches and pains. I will say all the chemicals that were pumped into me during cancer treatment to save my life definitely left me with some challenges, but I face them and I never verbally complain. I don't need to let the world know. I'm there to take care of it myself, and I consider myself a lifelong learner. And most importantly of all, scientists say superagers are rarely passive about life. Now, here is the key. Passive. We are taught by society, once you get past a certain age, you're not worth as much as you once were, especially as a female, and that aging is passive. Absolutely wrong. Everything we're telling you today is that aging is a participatory event, and you can slow your aging and you can even reverse your aging through good habits, self-control, productivity, and attitude. Participate in your life. It is so worth it. And live for the moment. Don't go to the past and say, I used to be, I was. That is such a losing game. You can never go back, and don't worry about forward. You're going to get there. Living in the moment and enjoying it and being grateful for it are the absolute keys, and they're very, very dependent on self-discipline. But here's the good part about self-discipline. If you're anything like me, you love control. Self-discipline gives you a feeling of control over your life, which helps mold your current life, what you want to be, what you want to do, what and who you want to project to in the outside world. And all of those factors come together for not only longevity, but your personal perspective, which is so important. You're living so much more for yourself as you get older. And I honestly had to reinvent myself. I work remotely. I'm not in a studio. That's one thing, but I'm a person who really thrives on I'm okay being alone And I do a lot of studying for my podcast, which means I stay very mentally engaged all the time. I also chose something to do in later life that I love doing. So remember, passion is still possible at any age, but you have got to identify it and pursue it. And I am always learning, whether it's about being a super-ager or it's about what's on the Paris runways this season. Wherever I am in terms of reportage for my podcast, it is always current and new, and that keeps my brain alive and constantly questing more information and absolutely refusing to retire into passivity. So I'm going to end this by saying that probably one of the biggest threats in terms of aging is disengagement, letting go of everyday life and not having a tether or an anchor or a set of oars in your little canoe of life to get to where you need to be on a big, vast ocean. But if you're somebody who can believe in yourself and know that your best years are not just behind you, they're right now and ahead of you. I hate to say it because all of this BS about manifesting, you know what? Pardon me. But it's actually true. When they talk about manifest destiny, I never understood that term, but I get it now. If you believe it and you think it and you project it, 99% chance are it's going to happen. And so I believe that my best years are not over. They're here and ahead of me, and it's my responsibility to make that happen. So, ask me on a beauty level about all the things that drive me crazy about the cosmetic industry as all of us, you and I, are growing older. And one basic point I will tell you is if you have made the decision to have natural gray hair or white hair like me, you can't find an eyebrow pencil in the right color. Oh, it's so weird. You go out into the market and yeah, there's like warm blondes and beiges, but that doesn't look right with salt and pepper. Until you get to Prime Prometics, which is literally the only eyebrow pencil on the market that comes in a gorgeous shade of medium gray. It looks natural. It is a very thin pencil, so you can actually feather in the lines. Very easy to work with and stays on for hours and hours. So if you want to bring your look closer together where everything melds and you want a more authentic look in your makeup, because it's so weird to put on your makeup and then have to put on a different color than your hair for your eyebrows. No, you do not have to suffer that way anymore. Prime Prometics, their gray eyebrow pencil, is superb and truly in an entire cosmetic market. It stands head and shoulders above the rest and is truly unique and tailored to us older girls. Thank you, Prime Prometics. And of course, go to primeprometics.com, type in our code, and get a discount. You are going to love this product. It is truly tailored for us older girls, and I am so grateful to have it in my life and my beauty kit. Through enthusiasm and joy and gratitude and everything that goes along with it, and never let myself mentally retire from the current world around me, then it's going to happen. And if you can do that, and you're listening at the age of 30 or 40 or even 50, 60, 70, and 80 are good too, then you have just won a huge war against aging. And your brain, you can make your brain constantly adapt and remain refreshed and grow through throughout your life. Stay curious, stay engaged, challenge yourself, and design your own life in terms of aging, because society is not going to do that for you. They're not going to give you guidelines that are super encouraging or that you can really build upon. You're going to have to do it for yourself. And here is the simplicity of it. Stay interested in life. Thank you all for listening to me. I hope this encourages you to participate in what is probably the most current health trend in the medical community, longevity. Remember, always remain too young to grow old.
Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.